Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. What's up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we talk about best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I am joined today. I'm your host, Willie Blake, joined today by our co-host, Ian Sturmer, as well as the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Kovacs Jr. And we are jumping into the third episode in the wonderful book by Bob Proctor, Born Rich, which if you guys are looking at the video version, well, boom, there we go. Had to point in the right direction. John's holding up the book, Born Rich by Bob Proctor. The ability to really understand that each of us are so rich and it's just a few decisions that we need to make to be able to make it happen. And crazy enough, the topic that we're talking about today is about making decisions, the power of decision, and why most people stay stuck and how to break free. It's such an important thing. I know we were back in the green room beforehand, and as we were talking about this topic, I know, John, this week's been full of decisions for you. It's been full of decisions for me. Ian, I'm sure it's also been full of decisions because guess what? We make hundreds of decisions every single day. And I think that when it comes down to it, it's not about when it comes to big decisions, making the right choice. It's about making the right choice with the smaller ones. And really, it doesn't have to be the difference between bad and good, but it could just be the difference between good and great. So let's just jump into this topic. John, I want to throw it to you just first off, because you're the one that brought up that you've had many decisions that have been going on this week. I'm just going to throw it to you as we start this conversation.
Absolutely. Not only have there been big decisions to make, but there've been talk about decisions in both our mastermind groups, our master classes, and just in business in general. And the power of decision making always reminds me of our favorite quote, Willie, from Outwitting the Devil. It's be definite in everything you do. Never leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. And that's by Napoleon Hill in his book, Outwitting the Devil, or in his manuscript. And how intuitive is it to remain in motion? I mean, we're talking about Bob Proctor talks about the law of attraction, and if you want to, you can throw in there the law of the various laws of physics, where let's talk about momentum, right? Or motion, where an object in motion will remain in motion until acted upon or affected by another object in motion. And so it's really interesting how decision making can be both hard and easy. When you get the ball rolling, I feel like decision making is really easy because you already have momentum. You know which direction you're going. Speaking of Bob, I had another mentor early on in my career named Bob as well. And Bob loved to talk about how he hated goal setting. And while I strongly disagree with the word hate and his vision, I totally understood where he was coming from. He said, I don't set goals, I set directions. Because if I head in that direction, imagine all the amazing things that I can say yes and no to as I move in my direction. And I mean, he's a self-made millionaire. He's done some really cool stuff. He was a motivational speaker. I aspired to be just like him. And when it came to decision making, he said, as long as it's in alignment with my goals and visions. And this, again, guys, I'm going to toot my horn and I'm going to beat this drum. But as long as you know me and I'm still alive on this earth, you're going to know that I'm going to say, hey, it's all about decision making. It's all about knowing your desire and focusing on your goals. And then the more often you say them, write them down, speak them into existence, you are creating that momentum decision making, allowing you to decide, is this in alignment with what I really want? Otherwise, I might be off track. I'll wrap this thought up with a story. I had the opportunity to share with someone recently my dreams and goals. And I told them that, being on the show Survivor would be a really cool goal. And in fact, part of that goal is not just being on the show, but also at one point, I would love to either be the successor, or I would love to somehow work on the show as an MC or host with Jeff Probst, the host of the show. And after talking to one of my mentors, they said, well, first and foremost, is that truly what you want? And I had to take back and say, whoa, I've been talking about it for a while, but that may not mean that I actually want it. Because if I've been talking about it, but not taking the action necessary, then did I truly want it? And in order to put myself in that position to truly want something, I had to make a decision. Is that truly what I want? And after consulting with my wife, because this was really bothering me, and talking more about just the thoughts and concepts of my goals, she said, look, is that really what you want to be, or do you want to be? And she's listed a few other items that she saw in me as well. And I thought, wow, okay, back to the decision drawing board here, because I remember thinking this would be great, but great ideas aren't always the decisions made for us. Our clarity, our vision, our goals, those are the decisions made for us. And that makes it easy. So if you're unclear, and this is my point, if you're unclear about where you're heading, what your journey is, what direction you're going, and what your true desire is, if you're unclear about that, decision making is going to get a lot harder. In fact, you're going to be thinking that you're making decisions in the right direction. However, if it's not in alignment with that core destination, then you're going to continue to make a bunch of other decisions that will lengthen the time and distance in which you can actually achieve and get to where you want to go, which is why at Champion Circle, we focus on 90-day goals. We talk about our true desire in that 90-day period, and we only work on that one thing. So that's a powerful reminder to us that decisions need to be based on the direction and the clarity of where we are truly headed. Otherwise, we are creating a fictional direction, and we're making it harder for ourselves. It's like taking the long road rather than knowing which shortcuts and which direct direction we must go. So it's decisions and decisions and decisions. That should be the next repetitive slogan to anyone buying a house. It's not just about location, location, location. Once you know the location, now it's about decisions, and you guessed it, decisions.
Decisions are not always easy. So I forget who said that, but your goals tell who you want to be. Your actions tell you who you are. And as you're making decisions, are they based on your goals that you want to be? Or are they based on who you are right now? Now, as we make a decision, you have two choices. You can either set a goal and make decisions that will get you toward that goal, or you can be where you are and make decisions that keep you where you are. So it's kind of a cause and effect. You can either pick a result and do the actions to get there, or you can pick an action and accept the result of where it's going to take you. And if you're not making those decisions that are taking you to that goal you want, then your actions are showing who you actually are right now, which is never going to change. And it's always you're going to be stagnant. You're just staying in the same thing, working really hard to achieve nothing more than you have right now. So with that decision, there's got to be a goal setting. You need to know where you want to be. Like I said, do you want to be the host of Survivor? Well, sounds fun, but when you actually say, is that what I really want? Well, I haven't taken any steps to get there. So probably that's not really my goal. I haven't made a decision to move that direction. And until you make those decisions, you're going to work really, really hard at achieving nothing more than you have right now. And we know through Champion Circle, that is not the goal in our life, to work harder and achieve less. We want to work less and achieve more, in my idea.
No, you're right on the money. It's an interesting thought that one thing that we don't consider a decision is not a decision. Like us choosing not to make a decision, that is a decision. That is absolutely a decision. And most of the time, one of the worst decisions that we can make. I know that this week I wanted to focus a lot more on sales for my business. And so what I did was I went to ChatGPT, fed it, a bunch of stuff, and it spewed out 5 things I can do each day to help me engage with people online and then also engage with the contacts that I have. And it's been great to be able to hit those 5 things and know that if nothing else happened the rest of today, I did the most important thing for my business. And that wouldn't have happened if I didn't make the decision that I need to focus more on sales. I needed to focus more on bringing people in and having conversations, because without it, ain't going to happen. I could do as much in the back end as I want, but I think it was Grant Cardone, his first year in starting a business. He did all the back stuff. He had the Excel sheet ready to where he can put in the contacts and everything was working great. And then it was like a year down the road, still didn't have people come in. And he called up his brother during a work day and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And his brother says back, "Dude, why are you calling me? It's in the middle of the work day. Go out and start making some sales." And he had the realization that no matter how much of the back end you have, if you don't have people coming in, it doesn't matter jack squat. And so that day he made a decision to be able to focus on sales. And so there's just power that we make. I think Bob Proctor has a great view on this. You make quick, firm decisions, and that leads it to success. Just like our favorite quote, mine and John's, of "Be definite in everything you do, and don't leave unfinished thoughts in the mind." That is being quick to be able to make a decision on something and then moving forward with it. And that's it. And I can go into several other topics, but I'll leave my time to what your guys' thoughts are on that.
It's amazing how sales can bring out some of the best and most interesting parts of our abilities. I'll go back to the science example here again. If you relate decisions to muscle building, it makes sense, because the more indecisions you make about going to the gym or exercising your muscles, those muscles don't get stronger just sitting there. They actually eat away at themselves if they aren't properly used, fueled, and exercised. In fact, the part of growing a muscle isn't growing the muscle, it's breaking the muscle down so that it can repair itself, and either repair itself stronger, bigger in mass, or adding more nutrients to it. And that in and of itself is our brain doing the same thing. The more indecisive we become, the more we let that beautiful muscle move into atrophy and start to wither away. And I admire, respect, and really appreciate people in my life who are really good at making decisions, because it tells me what they want. It tells me that they're really quick about it. We don't waste time deciding. We instead just take action. And it really is powerful to see them in action, because they do know what they want, and it's contagious. I know there's the poor, and I don't want to bring my wife into this, but there's the example of deciding what we want to do for dinner, right? And I don't care, you choose. Like that whole back and forth mind game that men have to play with their wives. And whatever it is, I totally get it. And it just might be personal, because someone in your relationship might be the bigger decision maker. But it really does come down to taking initiative and knowing exactly where you're going. The enemy to indecisiveness is a lack of planning, is a lack of clarity, and a lack of direction. So I will double down and circle back on that. But yeah, Willie, when you talk about sales, it brings a lot out of you, and it brings a lot into you. And especially if that's not your forte, if that's not something you're used to, if that's something that you're well versed in and practiced in. But you can always become that, because it is a muscle. You just have to grow it. You just have to strengthen it little by little. It doesn't take long before you start to see small incremental results. It takes a little while for you to see a massive growth. But at the end of the day, at least by trying, you are breaking it down so that it can repair itself. You are growing in a direction so that you can become better at it. And the muscle analogy always works for me. Of course, I'm an ex-athlete, but it works for me because I see it and I say, you know what? We're not talking about a muscle here. We're talking about our brains, which is a muscle, which is a key factor to all of this. And without it, I mean, we're simply just floating beings in an existence of either reality or a weird consciousness. And I don't believe that's truly what we're doing. I think we are present. I think we are conscious. And I think we are more than just blobs in the universe. And I think that that's a thing to remind ourselves is, what are your beliefs? What is your vision? And where are you heading? Because that can give you a lot of direction. And of course, one last part is knowing who you truly are. I mean, your lineage. Are you a lineage of something powerful? Are you a lineage of God? Are you a lineage of higher power? Are you a lineage of great human beings? Whatever it is that you decide or discover about yourself is truly enlightening, because it can give you a lot of great perspective. And I can tell you, you haven't gotten as far as you are without decisions. And that's decisions passed up the lineage line. Like, how did your family or your ancestors get here? Were they immigrants? Were they not? Did they make decisions in their life? Did they decide to marry? Did they decide to have children that led to you somewhere down the line? Decisions, decisions, decisions. Am I right?
Definitely. Everything we do is a decision. Um, Turn left, turn right. The movie Sliding Doors that I haven't seen, but I heard about. One little change in something. Uh, Everything is a decision except for our heart beating. Beyond that, everything we do is a decision that we make. And I want to go off of your muscle analogy a little bit more, because as an athlete, John, did you ever go to a meet and do your race without practicing at all, ever in your life before then?
It would never happen.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen. So why would you make a decision without practicing first? So I love the concept of pre-decisions. Practice a decision before the decision needs to be made. Now, this is something I taught my kids as they were growing up, that you're going to go to a friend's house and they're going to offer you alcohol when you're 12 years old. So if you wait until you're in front of your friend and they offer you before you make a decision, you're going to struggle with that decision. But if you make the decision today of how you're going to react, when that situation comes up, you will have already made the decision. You've already practiced it. You've already strengthened it. Now you're ready for the competition when the situation presents itself. And that's true in many things in our life. Willie talked about sales. If you're not going through sales situations in your head, if you're not making decisions of how to respond to various objections before you sit down and hear that objection, it's like going to a track meet without ever running beforehand, or a weightlifting competition without ever lifting a weight before you get there. No one would ever do that. But we tend to do that with our decisions. Well, I'll cross that bridge when it comes, I'll worry about that when a situation comes up. And then the situation comes up and we just bomb it. So pre-decide things. what do you want in life? What decisions are you going to have to make to get to that goal? And how are you going to make those decisions? 2 or 3 or 4 steps ahead. So that when that decision comes up, if your goal is to lose weight, you make the decision now not to have the ice cream. You don't wait until somebody hands you a bowl of ice cream and then decide what to say, because been there, done that. I'm going to fail. So exercise that muscle before the decision needs to be made.
That is an interesting thought, because I remember growing up, and my parents, we would do that, to where we'd have a family night or something, and we would role play us getting asked to go watch a really bad movie, or to have a cigarette, or to drink alcohol. Like there is these role playing things we did as a family, and it helped. It absolutely helped, because it helped us know that it helped us practice, so that we made the mistakes of like jumbling over our words, to where we didn't know what we were going to say, to when it actually happened in the moment, we were confident, and we're just like, no, because that's just not me. That's not something I want to do. So no, thank you. But we can go do something else if you want, right? Redirect the energy afterwards. So that's a really interesting thought. The preparation of making a decision. And going along with that, do you think that do you think a decision is a decision if it's not backed by action? Like, if you think about it, is the decision truly a decision if it's not backed by action? In my opinion, no. It's just another thought. Because a decision is after all the consideration of everything going on, then you make the decision. And then after that decision, if it's easily manipulated, or you don't take action on it, or you just don't move forward, or it just sits there and doesn't get exercised, I don't think that's a decision. I think it's just a thought. It's just another thought in the consideration of it all, of I'm not fully committed to this one thing. I think when we actually truly decide that it has to be backed by action. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Can I jump in with an answer to that? Sorry.
Go ahead, Ian.
No, you can't.
Slight disagreement. I think a decision not followed up with action is a decision not to act. I don't think there's a default of nothingness. I think everything we do is a decision, whether we really focus and it's a conscious decision, or it's a subconscious decision that we're too lazy to do that. I think we are choosing not to act, choosing to stay the same. And there's actually a Chinese philosophy that I probably will not pronounce it correctly, called Wu Wei, which is action through inaction, or the decision not to take an action and accept the outcome based on that. Which sometimes is the correct decision, is not to act. But I think if we don't take action on a decision that we think we want, we are truly deciding that is not what we want to do, or not willing to do.
Layers, like an onion.
Yeah. That question took me down a cerebral thought pattern, and us and our rabbit holes. Like, I go deep. We go so deep. It's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm at the core of the atom, thinking, was this as far as I should have gone, or was the answer way back there and I just missed its turn? But what I will say is, man, action is part of it. I mean, you've heard the scripture, faith without works is dead. And in that alignment, it could match up with your thought pattern and your theory here, Willie. And whether it is or it isn't, it's a powerful reminder, because if thoughts truly are things, tribute to you, Bob Proctor, then we make it what we make it. And that's sort of a cop-out answer to say, well, you're both right. No, but really what it is it's to say, look, if thoughts truly are things, then why leave them dormant? Why leave them actionless? Why leave them without the companion of additional decisions to create action or movement. And it goes back to that law of physics. And I'm a big believer that powerful action is what creates the reality of decision making. That's why here at Champion Circle, and I'm going to toot this horn one more time, when we say that you have a goal or a dream that you're working on, that you don't just think it, that you say it, that you write it down daily, not just often or every other week or as much as you remind yourself to. Even if you write it down once, at least that's a reminder somewhere physically. But if you write it down every single day, then your journal, the pages you've ripped out of your journal and put them all over your house, those are your continual reminders of your direction. So I bring kind of my thoughts full circle on this and just say, I'm grateful for decisions. Am I perfect at them? Absolutely not. I have mentors in my life who I admire, who make decisions on a dime. And sometimes I judge them for that because I'm like, I don't know if you think you're making the right decision. I think you're just deciding because you want to either speed this up or move things forward or whatever it might be. But I think about that and I say, wow, the longer I sit here and process it, the longer I'm still without action toward my goal. And that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for me because there are people in my life who we don't realize are watching us closely. And as they do, they see our progress. And if we haven't moved the needle, then we haven't moved in their eyes. And not that we should care about what others think, but as others are watching, in my humble but yet silly opinion, if and when people are watching, give them a show to watch because you truly are remarkable and you have what it takes to do amazing things. So just do it. I mean, what are you waiting for? There's so much out there. And by not deciding, by not backing that decision with action, you truly are keeping yourself and the world from your greatness. And I'll tell you this is one thing I learned from another mentor. The more you keep your talents, your potential inside you, the more selfish you become. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I just mean that as in a direct way. So don't be indecisive. Stop keeping your talents, your abilities within you. The world truly needs it, and we're waiting.
Make a decision. That's what it comes down to today. Make a decision. There's I pulled it up here. There's a pyramid of learning that I found a couple years back that I love. And it's the difference between if you just let it sit versus if you actually take active action into it, which is when it comes to learning, retaining information, if you just hear it, you retain about 5%. If you read about it, it's only about 10%. And it goes down into audio visual demonstration. These are just the passive learning, just absorbing it, whether it's video, audio, or that. Then you get into active learning and listening, which if you talk about it in a group discussion, just like me, John, and Ian are doing on a podcast, then we retain about 50% of what's going on. If we then take it and put it into practice, actually go out there and start doing something about it, we retain 75. Now, I thought that was the last one. I'm just isn't that it? Just practical of what you're doing. But then there's one to where if you do it, you retain 90% of the information that comes. And it's by teaching someone else. And it's so interesting that when we're on this podcast talking, that we are here, we're having a discussion, but we're also putting into practice, and even more, we are teaching people about it. And because we're teaching people about it, us are retaining 90%. And so when it comes to making a decision, you can have the decision to just listen to a podcast. You can have the decision to make your own podcast. You can have your decision to make your podcast with several other people, right? There's different levels to how to do it. But when it comes down to it, the movement you do while making the decision impacts how much the decision sticks. And I know that just this last couple of weeks, there are several examples I think of, but just the movement that happens when you make the decision and then take the action. It's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So as we wrap up this, John, Ian, I'd love to hear your final thoughts as we finish off this topic about decision making.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point that I'm going to tie back to my pre-decision. One of the books we covered a while ago, and I forget which one, somebody can put it in the comments if they remember. But successful people are quick to make action and slow to change that action. They're quick to make decisions. But that's because of learning. If you take the time to learn and study and understand the process that you're facing, whether it's a sales, it's building a business, it's losing weight or lifting a bigger weight, whatever it is your goal is towards, the more you learn about it, the more information you have, the faster you're able to make a decision. So studying ahead of time, the same as making pre-decisions, studying and learning more about it is going to help you to make a faster decision because you already know the information. You don't have to stop and figure out all the steps if you're taking the time to study and learn. And like Willie said, there's different ways to learn and to integrate it in yourself. But the more you put forth the effort to learn about it, the faster decisions you'll make, the more confident decisions you'll make, and probably the better decisions you'll make if you take that time to learn about it first.
My final thoughts are 2 words: carpe diem. Carpe freaking diem. Seize the day, get out there, take action. You rule. We love you, and we're here to support you.
Boom. There you go. And champions, that wraps up this episode of Champion Reads. If you found inspiration in this episode, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, all the major podcasting platforms, as well as you can find us at our webpage, mychampionscircle.com, where you have the link to the podcast, link to our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Until next time, champions, continue to be awesome, continue to be the champion in your own life, and always remember, like Proctor says, once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.